everybody's Miss Feeling here with your science lesson for today. We started a new unit this week all about space. We are going to be focusing on the sun, the moon, the stars, Earth, and then some other planets in our solar system. So I am super excited about this unit. There's a lot of fun things to do. If you didn't do the lesson on Monday, make sure you do that because I introduced our space book. This is what you need to make. It's 6 pages. We talked about the cover with the title My Space Book by your name and then decorating the cover. And then we did the first page already on Monday. We did a brain pop and I read some pages out of a book called The Sun, and we did our first page on the sun, and then you had to write a fact about the sun. So that was a quick review of what we did on Monday. Make sure if you haven't done that you do that first. Today we are moving on to the moon. We're going to spend a couple days actually on the moon. Today we're going to learn about the moon. Then we're going to do the phases of the moon and spend a couple days on that. And there's a fun activity to do with the phases of the moon using Oreo cookies. I'm so excited for that one. Mostly because I tend to eat the cookies instead of doing the activity. But that's okay. So that'll be next week. Today we are gonna learn about the moon, Earth's moon. So we are gonna start off with a brain pop. Again, if you have your own account, you can log on to your own and watch it on that and then take the quiz. It's simply under science, and then if you type in the moon, it'll pop right up. So we're going to watch this first, then I have a few pages I'm going to do, read out of a book, and then I will explain your next page in your space book. So, let's turn you around. There you go. Enjoy. And remember, because you're going to be doing a fact in your space book, okay, if you hear a fact that you want to use about the moon, store it in your pocket so you have it ready to go.
Missing. The moon? If found, call Moby? Don't worry, Moby. The moon isn't missing. What is the moon? The moon is the Earth's closest neighbor in space. It's a huge piece of rock that goes around our planet. The moon is big, but much smaller than Earth. Nope, the moon isn't made of cheese. It's dry and rocky. The moon has mountains and valleys, just like Earth. It also has craters, or holes made by rocks that crashed into the moon long ago. How does the moon move? It takes 24 hours for the Earth to spin all the way around. The moon orbits, or goes around the Earth. It takes about 28 days for the moon to orbit the Earth. While the moon orbits the Earth orbits the sun. Every day we see the sun rise in the east and set in the west. We can see the moon do the same thing. It rises in the east and sets in the west. We see the sun and the moon move across the sky because of the Earth's rotation. What are the phases of the moon? The moon doesn't make its own light or heat like the sun. We can see the moon because the sun's light shines on it. Well, let's pretend my flashlight is the sun and you're the moon. The light only shines on part of you. The other side is too dark to see. One side of the moon is always lit by the sun. As the moon rotates and orbits the Earth, different parts of the moon are lit by the sun. The moon looks like it's changing shape, but really it's just going through phases. The first phase of the moon is called the new moon. The sun lights the side of the moon that faces away from Earth. The side of the moon that faces us is dark, so we can't see it. The next phase is a crescent moon, and then we see more of the moon. About 14 days after the new moon, we see a full moon. During a full moon, the sun lights the side of the moon that faces us. Then after that, we can see less and less of the moon. After about 28 days, the cycle starts over. When the shape of the moon seems to grow bigger, we say that it's waxing. When the shape of the moon seems to grow smaller, we say that it's waning. How do we know so much about the moon? People have been studying the moon for thousands of years. Ancient people built temples and looked at the moon's changing phases. Later, scientists like Galileo built telescopes. Telescopes are tools that can help people observe objects that are far away. In 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the moon. Right, Moby. There are tons of stories and poems about the moon. Different Native American communities have folk tales about how the moon came to be. Many cultures have passed down stories about the man in the moon, but other cultures have stories about a rabbit in the moon or a woman in the moon. Anyway, Moby, the moon definitely isn't missing, so you don't have to worry. Nice moonwalk.
All right, so hopefully you got some facts about the moon. I'm going to also read, this is a great book, The Moon by Seymour Simon. I'm going to read a couple pages and some facts off of some pages in here. But also, before I forget, on Epic, I assigned, for your own pleasure of reading, books on the sun and on the moon. Okay, so I assigned, I think, like 3 or 4 books for each, and I assigned also a video for the sun and maybe a video on the moon as well. I think 2 videos as well. So have fun watching those. It's just, the more information you can get about the sun and the moon, the better, and in different ways. So, like I said, I assign books. Some are they read them to you. Some you have to read on your own, but it's at a first grade level for the sun and also the moon. And I also, like I said, assign 2 videos. And I normally I say no videos, but because it's science related, that is a-okay. So have fun with those. Don't forget, it's on Epic in your library. You'll see that I assigned them, and then I assigned some for maps as well. But we're talking about science, so I just want to let you know that if you all of a sudden see all these science books in your library, it's because I put them there for you to read. So, the moon. The moon is Earth's closest neighbor in space. It is about 1/4 of a million miles away. In space, that is very close. The moon travels around the Earth. It is Earth's only natural satellite. There you go. Only natural satellite. A satellite is an object that travels around another object. The moon takes about 27 days and 8 hours to go around the Earth once. And that's how we get the phases of the moon. Talk about. The moon has thousands of craters covering its surface. Craters are ring-shaped flatlands with walls around them. A few craters on the moon are more than 50 miles wide, but most are smaller. Many of the craters are only a few feet wide. And then we also learned that there's mountains and valleys on the moon. The moon is made of rock, not cheese. When can we see only part of the moon lit by sunlight? Or sorry, we can see only part of the moon lit by the sunlight. That's important. The sun is what lights up the moon. Sometimes we see the full moon. Other times we see a thin sliver. Every night the moon looks a little different. Each different shape is called a phase of the moon. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first person to set foot on the moon. Armstrong was one of the astronauts on the Apollo 11 flight to the moon. He was followed shortly by Edwin Aldrin, another member of the United States Apollo 11 spaceflight. This is a photograph of astronaut Aldrin standing on the moon. The face mask of his spacesuit reflects astronaut Armstrong. So that's pretty cool. So here's Aldrin, and then in his helmet you can see Neil Armstrong from the reflection. And then here's a really good example of a crater. And these are all real photographs. The footprint on the moon marks the first time that human beings have walked on ground that was not Earth. The footprint may last for 1 million years or longer. That is because there is no air on the moon. And without air, there can be no winds to blow dust around. So, there. Oh, this is interesting. The astronauts discovered that the moon is a silent, strange place. The moon has no air. Air carries sound. With no air, the moon is completely silent. Even when the astronauts broke rocks or used rockets on their spaceships, sound could not be heard. That is pretty interesting. So even though they were making sound, they couldn't hear it. The moon does not have air, water, clouds, rain, or snow. It does not have weather, but the surface of the moon does warm up or cool off. The ground gets very hot or very cold because there is no air to spread the heat. The temperatures in the daytime can be above the boiling point of water. At night, they can drop hundreds of degrees below zero. That's crazy. And I think that is it for now on the moon. I'll have some other pages to read next week. So, with that being said, now you have hopefully a few facts stored in your pocket to do your page on the moon. So, I want to show you on the sun page, I did put a number 1 in the bottom. I've numbered my pages. I have a 1, and then now we are on number 2, so you can put a 2 in the bottom. So this page is all about the moon, okay? So the title on the top, the moon, and then I drew a picture of the moon, and remember it's made of rock and dust. So they are of rock. The dust can't blow around. So the moon, a lot of times we want to draw like the moon as being yellow, but remember it's lit up by the sun. The moon is actually like gray. So I drew the moon. Those are my craters, those dark spots. Those are my craters. And then I shaded it in with a gray pencil for the coloring of it. And then your fact, the moon, okay? And then hopefully you got a couple facts in your pocket that you can write down. At least one fact. If you want to write more, that's awesome. Go ahead and you can write more. And don't forget cups, okay? We use cups all the time. Whether we're in science, math, English, okay, social studies, we use it all the time. So cups, double check for that. But you are going to do your moon page, okay? Make sure you also have your sun page done as well. So you should have 2 pages plus your cover done in your space book. So, like I said, we're going to spend a few days on the moon. We kind of got the overview of the moon and what our moon, Earth's moon, is made of, and some interesting facts. Next week, we're going to be talking more about the phases of the moon. And then we'll go into Earth, and then we have some fun projects, and then we'll go into some planets and the solar system and stars. So we're going to be doing this for about 2 more weeks. So have fun with it today. Hopefully you had fun with the moon. And tomorrow, our STEM challenge, it's more of a project. We're going to be making moon sand. And it's a lot of fun. So if you don't have it already, you're going to need flour, either 4 cups if you want to do a half batch, or 8 cups of flour, and you'll need baby oil. Just those 2 things, and anything that you want to, it's going to be like kind of like moon sand instead of a sandbox. You're going to have moon sand, and anything you want to bury in it and find. So that's tomorrow. I kind of gave you a surprise hint of what we're doing tomorrow. I figured that'll be fun since we are talking about the moon. So, bye for now, Smarties. Have a great Wednesday. Make sure you get outside, get some fresh air, get those wiggles out, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, Smarties.